in Fallout 4, you can convert almost any weapon into an auto-targeting fire and forget type of weapon by using the forced modifications weapon glitch. And in this video I am going to show you exactly how you can do this. Hi, I'm Mo and I'm trapped in Fallout. In order to perform this glitch, you will need a missile launcher, or specifically you will need to be able to build the auto-targeting computer modification as part of the missile launcher, and you will need some other weapons. It doesn't really matter for now anyway what this weapon is. I'll get into more detail about this a little bit later in the video, but you will need a missile launcher and you will need some other weapons. I happen to have a pipe rifle, a harpoon gun, a combat shotgun and a plasma pistol. Once you have such weapons, you will need to go into the weapons workbench and you will need to rename your missile launcher to 0. As a result of doing that, it should be moved to the very top of your list. Next, you will need your base weapon, i.e. the weapon that you're going to modify and turn into an auto-targeting weapon. And I'm going to do that on the pipe rifle. So with that said, I'm going to rename the pipe rifle to 1. Now notice that my weapon happens to have a legendary effect associated with it. You don't need a legendary weapon. This is just to demonstrate the fact that you can do this on a legendary weapon. Once you have renamed your missile launcher to 0 and your other weapon to 1, you will need to exit and perform a quick save. Now, if you happen to be playing on survival mode, you won't be able to perform a quick save because the option is grayed out. But what you can do instead is just have a bed and sleep in the bed. That will effectively create your quick save for you. So we're going to create a quick save. Now, this is the tricky bit. What you will need to do is perform the modification glitch, although we're going to force it. And by forcing, what we're going to do is we're going to press the scrap and modify button at the same time, and when we do that we will be on basically this screen but with the scrap option applied on top. But the small caveat is you also want to be highlighting this option here, the standard sights. If we select the standard sights, this is the option that has the targeting computer on it. To actually do this, what you will need to do is press the scrap and modify button at exactly the same time, but before this screen appears you want to just slightly flick your left analog stick down. So when you end up on the screen, this option should be highlighted. So let's try to do this now. And in this instance, I was now able to do it. If you have a look now, we are in a state where we are both on the modification screen for the missile launcher as well as being able to scrap it. You will also notice that in the background, the standard sights option is selected. Getting to this state is effectively known as the forced weapon modification glitch. What you want to do right now is press the scrap button. And now this is very important. You want to press right on your D-pad and just press it once. And if you do it, you should now see the options from your missile launcher and not from your actual weapon. Now press down on your D-pad until you get to the targeting computer and apply this modification. And now if you look at your weapon, you will notice that the targeting computer has been applied to your pipe pistol. So if we exit, or rather just before we do, as a result of doing this, we've scrapped the missile launcher, but we've taken the targeting computer from the missile launcher and attached it to the pipe rifle instead. So let's exit this whole process and let's actually look at the weapon itself. So notice that this weapon now has the targeting computer attached to it, and this has now effectively turned the pipe rifle into an auto-targeting weapon that uses 38 ammo but has the power of missile behind it. Now before we go to actually test this weapon, let's try this one more time on a different weapon. So we'll go into the weapons workbench and let's rename this pipe rifle to something else so that it appears a little bit below down on the list. So let's just rename it to something like 2. Now again, we're just going to repeat the step. We're going to rename the missile launcher to 0, and this time we're going to rename the harpoon gun to 1. And as a result of doing that, the missile launcher has been pushed to the very top of the list and the harpoon gun is now sitting on the second position on this list. Again, we're going to exit and perform a quick save. We're going to go back into the workbench and we're going to press the scrap and modify button at exactly the same time. But before the modification window opens for the missile launcher, we will need to flick the left analog stick down so that the second option is selected instead. So I'm going to try to do this now. So here you will notice that I've actually accidentally scrapped my weapon, and this is why we perform the quick save, or if you're playing survival mode, this is why you go to sleep. In case this happens, you can just simply reload your game and try again. And when you're on this screen, again, follow the same instructions, press the scrap button and then press right on your D-pad. and then go down to targeting computer, and you should attach the targeting computer on your weapon, in this case my Harpoon Gun. So again, I'm just going to quickly exit, go into the Pip-Boy and have a look at this weapon, and notice just like my pipe rifle, this also has the targeting computer attached to it, and it looks a little bit more natural when compared to the pipe rifle. Anyway, with that said, I'm now going to do exactly the same thing for my combat shotgun and my plasma pistol, although I'll do that off screen, and I'll see you right now in a moment to do some testing. Now, before we actually test these weapons out, if you have made it this far into the video, then please do consider liking this video. I really enjoy reading and replying to as many comments as I can, so please consider leaving a comment too, as that really helps with the YouTube algorithm. So let's quickly review our weapons. We've got the pipe rifle, we've got the Harpoon Gun, we've got the plasma and the shotgun. So we've already had a look at the Harpoon and pipe, but if we look at the plasma, again, that's got the auto targeting system on it as well as the shotgun. So what I will do is, I happen to be in Starlight and I've sort of console command in a handful of mythic Deathclaws. What I'm going to do is just aim at a weapon, or rather aim at a Deathclaw, and just fire the weapon off, and just like that it's auto-targeted that enemy. So again, I'm going to do the same thing, and this time I'm going to sort of fire up in the sky, and notice it goes right down into the enemy. So we can use this to effectively target any monster we want using this method, and we'll be able to take them out. Now notice that the legendary effects also come into effect. So this pipe rifle happens to have the time slowing down when aiming, i.e. Deadeye. So if I aim, notice that the enemies have actually slowed down, and now I can just fire a missile off and it will sort of target that enemy automatically. So this is a really cool way of targeting enemies automatically without you having to do much about it. This effectively turns almost any weapon you have into an auto-targeting machine. So now let's try out one of the other ones. This time we're going to try our Harpoon Gun. Now, unlike the pipe rifle, which actually fires multiple rounds, so if I just aim right into this guy, notice I can fire off them continuously. That's sort of a plus when attaching the targeting computer to a pipe rifle. However, when we try and use a harpoon, this particular one only fires one at a time, so it isn't as good. So depending on the weapon you attach it to, you could actually get some better options. Now let's try it out on the shotgun. So unlike the pipe rifle or the harpoon, the shotgun when fired fires multiple projectiles. So before trying to take any of these guys out, let's just aim into this guy. Notice I actually fired off multiple shots there. Every single one of them are actually multiple rockets. So if I now do the same thing, I'll take aim and let's just say I fire into this guy. Notice they all target straight down into the enemy, effectively wiping them, I think all of them out in one shot. So depending on the weapon you attach the targeting modification to, you could get basically a pretty devastating weapon. And now lastly, let's also check out what it does when attached to the plasma gun. So again, I've got it attached to the plasma gun now, and just like before, I am going to take aim, and this time what I'll try to do is I'll try to get a sneak hit in, just to show you. So if you notice on the top left hand corner, this also works with sneak attacks, so you can basically get more in. And here's the other thing, you don't have to necessarily use the auto feature, you can just do this instead. So there's a Deathclaw that's run away over there. What I will try to do is take it out by basically chasing it down. So there you go, I'm just going to fire straight into the air, and they automatically target the enemy. So this is effectively a really good way to take out enemies at range without you having to do any manual aiming, and you can attach this, as I said, to almost any weapon. Now, before I actually close this video, I did mention this works on almost every weapon. That is sadly the same as saying this doesn't work on all weapons. When actually using this feature, you need to physically be able to actually aim at a target. So for example, right here, I've got this cursor sort of aiming on these targets. This means for some weapons, this feature doesn't work. Although you can take the targeting modification and attach it to weapons such as the Fat Man or to miniguns, this actually doesn't work with Fat Mans or miniguns. So when you do decide to attach this modification to something like the Fat Man, you will notice that although the modification appears on the weapon itself on your screen, when you actually go to aim your weapon, you won't get that auto targeting feature on the weapon itself. So again, if I now sort of do this and just fire up into the air, it quite nicely targets the enemies, but as said, this won't work. Another really cool thing to do is to actually combine this with something like Deadeye. Here, as you can see, it gives me plenty of times to take aim and really do damage to the enemy without the enemy doing much about it. So I'll let this Deathclaw approach me, just to show you what I mean. And then I go to aim, and then you can see my slowdown has affected and I can take out the enemy more easily. So definitely experiment using this particularly nice, easy to use glitch with different weapons, and also try experimenting this by using some weapons that actually have a legendary effects, whatever the effects may be. In this video, I showed you how you can turn some of the most basic weapons in Fallout 4 into auto-targeting machines. However, why not click on the video you see on the screen right now, and I will show you how you can generate over 200,000 damage with just one shot using a crafted weapon. Click on the video you see on the screen now and I will show you how you can create a god tier weapon that does over 200k damage with each shot in Fallout 4.